And who knows, the players that are on the pitch now might be your next president 20 years from now, after the next financial crash or something. No, let's hope that's not.
Hopefully not, but we'll see.
Thun, Switzerland, population 44,000, located in the Bernese Oberland, the canton of Bern that surrounds the Swiss capital. Thun is where the river Aare meets a lake, and the Alps are there as a backdrop. And it's the biggest military town in Switzerland. Not exactly a place you'd expect to find yourself talking about Champions League football next season, and yet FC Thun, that club that just got promoted from the second division, is on the verge of becoming Swiss champions in their very first year back in the top flight. On its face, it's one of these great Cinderella stories in European soccer right now. But if you've spent any time with any club's history like that, you know that Cinderella stories are rarely just that. We've had the same thing with Bodø Glimt here recently as well. In the case of Thun, behind the headlines of this sensational season is a club that's been through a lot. An archive that burned through the ground in 1975, a Champions League run in the early 2000s that nobody saw coming and that ended badly, a pair of scandals that serious enough to make their own timeline entries in the club's official history, multiple financial near-death experiences, relegation, and a president who took the job because, as he put it, nobody else would. So my guest today is Medea Vögeli, historian and FC Thun researcher, the person who has spent quite a while digging through what's left of the club's records and built out especially a wonderful history section on their website. She's a Bern-based historian who came to Thun through academic curiosity. She'll tell us a bit more, and is a fan of the club as well. So we talk about what kind of Thun, what kind of town Thun actually is, how this club has always punched above and below and sideways, and whether this time around success is actually gonna stick. And there's a Mennonite shout out on this episode as well. What will stick, for sure, is the next and special episode at the Assistant Professor of Football. We have something for you. 4 of us recorded a preview, review, and cultural analysis of the Eurovision Song Contest, and that will be out at the regular appointed Assistant Professor of Football Monday again. So that's the 11th. My apologies for the belated nature of this episode. True story, we ran this interview by the club, who had no complaints. But, Thun is a small world, as you'll find out if you're in touch with the club. The first person I heard back from in this case was not a historian, but the actual president, who said, I'll answer all your questions, but I'll do it in German. And we're glad Medea is joining us and took the time, and people in the club took the time as well. So here we are. I think some kind of English language exclusive. I think a history of FC Thun in English, it's got to be unique. So here we go. Medea, greetings to Thun. We don't quite have a championship to celebrate yet, and we're not going to jinx it, and we're not going to talk too much about that, but look behind a little bit into that story. But first, what's your relationship to FC Thun like? How has it grown? What's it like now in this exciting time?
So I've always been interested in football history, and especially in Swiss football. And
wait, why? Why have you always been interested? That's not a common statement.
Yeah, I love the sport. I think it's beautiful how the sport connects the world. When I was like 10 years old, Switzerland held the Europe.
This would be the Euro. This would be the Euro to 2008 together with Austria.
Yes.
Right?
Yeah, exactly. And I've loved the atmosphere, and it's always nice to be in the stadium to live like those moments. And yeah, for me it's just something special, and I think it's a sport where everybody in the world can play, and yeah, I think that's very nice. And so, I've been interested in football and also a bit in the history. So my last big work I think in the US is like the high school, was about the miracle from Bern. So, I think this was like the
Miracle of
connection.
Bern would have been 54, so Germany winning the World Cup in Switzerland. Yeah.
Exactly. And I think the consequences of this win just fascinated me. And then I started studying history at the University of Bern. And at that time, Thun celebrated the 125th anniversary. And they've been looking for someone who can research their history and digitize it. And then I saw this job and I thought this would be perfect for me.
Was it at this point just a job, or did you grow up with FC Thun in your background?
Both. So I live in Bern, but Switzerland is kind of small. So if you are interested in football, it's something every club, and I love Thun always. The FC Thun, because it's a smaller club, it's kind of familiar, and I think I've always had like a connection to this club, and so I thought it's perfect for me, this job, and with that I could start my research for the FC Thun.
So you researched the history of the club. One of the results of that is a really nice timeline that moves around and follows the viewer on your website. These days, probably it's more the present than the history that's in focus there. What kind of town is Thun? How can we imagine the vibe these days? We've been through a few weeks now where almost might be there. This is the team that just got promoted and now in its first year will become champion. So we're waiting for this sensational story to come to its ending. What happened in all the millennia before then? What kind of place is Thun, and how's it feel these days as a soccer town?
I'd say it's not a typical soccer town. It's a small town. It's located in the Bernese Oberland, so directly by the Lake Thun with a view of the Alps. The river Aare is there, so it's beautiful. It's like you are in vacation when you are there. Mm-hmm. It's, as I said, a small town, and the people know each other, and I think that shows also how the club is. It's very familiar, and I think it's something extremely special how the situation, the atmosphere is in these days. Like last weekend, this was the first opportunity that the FC Thun could have won the title, and it was beautiful weather. The whole town was like in those clothes, in red, white shirts, and that is special, I'd say. Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm. That chance was missed, but the next one is coming this weekend.
Yes.
In Basel. You'll be there, I assume.
I hope, yeah. It's not quite sure, but I hope.
Okay. You already mentioned red and white, and the name is the FC Thun. That wasn't always this way. When does the whole story of football start in Thun? There's a few ups and downs, starts and abrupt endings again. And I read in your history that maybe it's the vacation town nature of things, but playing football didn't exactly make you popular in the early years in Thun. So what was going on there in these early days?
So the FC Thun was founded in 1998, but I think it's more like a Swiss thing. Soccer in these days was still very young. It came to Switzerland because British students who went to school here played soccer. It's more like in the west part of Switzerland. And then from time to time, it became popular by the younger people.
So it's the English story in Thun as well. So 1898, and it's English students that are the first ones to kick a ball around, as far as we know.
Yeah, I'm not sure if in Thun also the British, but the first club bigger club was founded in 1979, the FC St. Gallen in Switzerland.
The oldest
and from
continental Europe. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. And then go on the other clubs all around Switzerland. And I think the Thun, after Thun was one that also like in this phase was founded. But yeah, as you said, it was difficult. The people didn't like so much when they were playing football. It was kind of rough. And also very hard to establish a club in this environment.
Mm-hmm.
So when the FC Thun was founded, they had very few members. They were re-established them a few times. And in 1905, that was the first time when the club was really founded and stays that way. But yeah, it was a hard beginning. You see, like in 1902, that was the first time when they had a kit that everybody has the same kit. But you see on the photos, as I said, the flag is red and then a white stripe and a star on it. And on this photo, you see how each star has different amount of beam, and some of them are on the left side, some of the others. So very basic, very improvised. And you see in the protocol, sometimes they didn't even have a ball to play. So yeah, you see, compared to today, it's a big difference.
And students, I assume. I mean, in many towns, it's students who start.
Yeah, it's not. We can't say it with the certainty, but we think so. So you have to imagine the archive burned in 1975, so a lot of documents are burned. We have like the founding protocol, but yeah, not much left. So it was a bit difficult.
It's often, I mean, you study history and you notice sports archives are just notoriously hard to work with. Establishing the right primary sources in itself takes a while off. And archives burn, or archives don't exist. Nobody collects this kind of stuff because we play today, and that's what matters, right? We're not a historical society. Respect for uncovering what you uncovered then. The two world wars come. Switzerland stays neutral in both of them. And so normally when we tell the story of Europe through the wars, and I've done podcast episodes on this, the effect of the war, its very direct effects, take center stage here. How should I imagine this playing out in Switzerland during war times? How did the region change, or the city, or the mood in the country, and how did that affect soccer?
So yeah, we were neutral, but we had to secure our borders. So, you know, we are in the middle of Europe. Germany is in the north, Italy in the south. We are kind of in the middle of everything.
Yeah, so, Austria in the east, don't forget
exactly.
us.
And French in the west, so, you know. And so every man has to do a military service. That's today like this and was back then. And so they had to go. They were called in the service, so the football stops in the First World War. But yeah, in 1915 they started the championship as nothing happened, and in the Second World War that was a bit different. It was also the military service. The championship stopped, but the General Guison decided or thought that football is something important, soccer is something important for the moral. It's important that the man, but also the society has something to concentrate on it. So they did like a championship, mobilization championship. And Thun played back then in the third league, so very far, but not so well. And they had like two mobilization championship, one for the first league clubs and the second one for the second and third league. And Thun was managed to keep everything kind of organized and won this mobilization championship. It was like the first big success. But so the pitches in Switzerland were used to reuse for farmland. But the after Thun was in his region the only one who could keep his pitch, so they could train and they had a bit of an advantage.
This is a story that I heard out of Switzerland in a number of different contexts now, turning pitches into farmland. So potatoes growing on a football pitch. And it makes a lot of sense. I never heard that many stories from Austrian football pitches that had potatoes. I think Switzerland was remarkably organized. He called this championship the mobilization championship, so national mobilization. And in that context, everything in the service of national food security, border security, and independence as possible. Okay, so that hit the actual pitches of other clubs too. Who were the other clubs at the time? Are there like local rivals? Who does Thun play at the time? And are there any names among them that we'd recognize now?
So the big clubs like we know today, like after Basel, Young Boys, St. Gallen, all of them were founded these days. But I think most of them played in the first league. So after Thun was smaller and played against smaller names that I think are kind of not very known in other countries.
More obscure. In other words, Thun is maybe the club from that pool that made it onto the big stage later on.
Exactly.
Okay.
So the other clubs in this region also were founded later on in the 1920s, 1930s. But Thun is the biggest one. But compared to the other clubs, rather small. So I think we don't have like rivals with big names back then. That came when Thun get promoted to other leagues, so like the National League A or B.
World War II?
The World War II is the mobilization championship.
Okay.
Exactly. In the First World War, there was just they're playing with each other, like regional and not very organized. But then in the Second World War, that was the mobilization championship.
And then comes the first high. Like all of a sudden, 50s, great success, promotion, they entered the cup final. Why? All of a sudden, what's going on there after the war?
I think it's difficult to explain, but I think they realized in this world season and that they can achieve big things with small with not so many resources. And I think this was kind of hype. They knew they could achieve something. In 1946, they got promoted to the National League B, so the second highest.
Second league, yeah.
And I think from then on, they knew they could achieve big stuff. They had also a new pitch to play, more success, more people who went to support them. It was also a general enthusiasm in Switzerland.
This is an era of economic growth for much of Europe. It's beginning and the economic miracle. Is that true for the region around Thun as well? Because that was my first thought on why.
I think it's more like this whole situation after the war. It's a bit back to normality. I don't know if it has such a big impact like in other countries who fought in the war actively, but I think the whole atmosphere just calmed down and one could concentrate on soccer, on things that make fun more. You know, I think it's more this whole, I think the whole atmosphere who just was calmed down. And, in 1954, the World Cup took place in Switzerland. So that, again, made soccer more popular. And in Thun, that's kind of special. On the stadium in Thun, they trained the Uruguay, who was leader at the time, and also West Germany, who won the World Cup in 1955, so 54.
Inbert, that's the miracle. Yeah,
exactly.
So then they're up, first division, enter the cup final, and it doesn't last.
No. with every promotion, they get more problems with money. They need more resources. And I think that was just too much for this club to handle at that time. They didn't have these resources. They weren't stable enough. I think there were also people who got transferred to clubs with more opportunity for them. So, yeah, it was a hype, which was great, promotion from the first league to National League A and the cup final. But that was a period, and then it ended. And then, they played in different league, first league, National League B. So it was a kind of up and down.
Is that a theme that eventually the club has a tendency to have successes that are kind of outsized relative to its foundation, its structure, its economic background? I don't know. Am I right in that?
Yeah. I think that's interesting for this club, which is like a lot of up and downs and not so many great success, but when they do something achieved, it's incredible. Like, they get promoted and hopefully they win the title. They get promoted and 2 seasons later they're playing in the Champions League. So, yeah, that's nice. I think that's something very nice for the FC Thun. They are surprising. Yeah, they surprised the supporters.
Okay, nimm die mit zu dem Platz, wo ich wohne, wo Jugendliche trinken wie ein Fass ohne Boden. Heim Stadtrat Idioten, die das Problem nicht sehen, Staatshandeln, stellen sich die Senioren noch quer.
This was an interesting subcultural find, a harsh critique and declaration of love to the city of Thun by a rapper called Italian Stallion. I have absolutely no idea who the guy is. I know nothing else about him. But this is song in the local dialect. Critiques the city council, speaks about junkies in section C of the stadium, says that Thun is loved by the Swiss right-wing populists and it's easy to hate it, and complains about how sleepy the town is. Was an interesting listen.
They surprised their supporters in the good ways, but also in the bad ways. By the time we reached the 70s, we're back in this yo-yo stage, and the club almost folds for the first time because of a lack of economic basis and a sustainable structure, would you say?
Yeah, exactly. I think that was the big problem. And also, I think it's maybe also hard to fight against these big rivals. Like, we have clubs with other resources, and then you have, on the one side, you have the sportive aspects, but also the economic aspect. And I think that's too much to handle the whole time, like other clubs can. And I think that may be something that FC Thun, didn't have the possibility back then.
Well, in a way, still doesn't. I mean, Thun is not Zurich or Basel or even St. Gallen. So maybe the last question should be, why is it going to be different this time? And the story of a sustainable foundation, how that looks like today. Well, we can get to the end there. The club survives the 70s, though. And the 80s before the next boom period comes. Is there ever a time again when the relationship between the town and the soccer club goes back to a little bit of what it was at the beginning of, soccer, that's kind of yucky, now it's like they're always in financial trouble. Is that a refrain, or does the city pull through as well when the club is in difficult times?
I think the city helps the FC Thun a lot, also financially, but I talked with one player who played during this time in the 1970s, 1990s, and he said sometimes at the games you just had like 100, 200 supporters, and that was it. Mm-hmm. And I think the city itself and people now are much more I'm not sure if loyal is the right word, but I think today the supporter has more patience with the after Thun, because he knows or she knows that they can achieve incredible things. But back then, yeah, I would not say that it was like the beginning, but it was a hard relationship between them, I think.
Is the stadium owned by, or was the stadium owned by the city back then? Or does the club own its own ground and its own facility?
No, back then it was a so-called Lachenstadion, and they were like different sports there, like handball and also track and field, and it was like it is like a big place for different sports, but I can't say who owned it.
It's one of these stadiums with a track around it, kind of a historic gate near the middle of the football pitch. It's a beautiful place, not used by the club anymore. We'll get to that, but that's where they play. You said, though, the city supports the club when push comes to shove?
Yeah. For example, in the 1970s, there was a financial crisis, a big financial crisis, and the city helped. And also in the 1999, the city helped with the debt. So I think it's important for the city, not just because of the sports, but also, I think we're going to talk about it later, but the youth academy and the whole stuff that after Thun brings with it.
How far away is Langnau from Thun?
Langnau?
Yeah. Also same region, Berner, Oberland. I don't know.
Same region, but
yeah. Hour-ish.
Yeah, more like I'm
just bringing it up because the first conversation topic when I was in Langnau, quite a while ago, was they were just building the new hockey stadium, the new hockey arena there. And the host in the hotel that we were staying is one of the first topics of conversation was, we're building the new arena, and all our taxes go there. All our municipal taxes go there because it's the arena seats probably as many people as that village. Okay. And they play in the first hockey league. Yeah, so that's what struck me first. I don't know if she was correct or not, but there was this sense of this outsized investment of the community in the club and in keeping top sports in a region that's not one of the economically strongest and in a region that does not have a big metropolis in it.
Yeah, well, Langnau and Thun, and we are all in the same canton. Like Switzerland is built of 26 cantons, and they are all in Bern. So that's why we support each other like financially as they. So I think that can be the point. And we have like big clubs in Bern, in Canton Bern, but in different regions.
There's one connection between football and religion here, kind of an odd one. So I mentioned Langnau earlier. The reason I was in Langnau was I got the oldest still existing Mennonite church in the world, and it was research related. Here where I live in northern Indiana, there are quite a few families who originally came from Switzerland and who have names from your area. So Gerber, the name of your chairman, would be a common last name around here as well, because there's so many Mennonites and Amish that came over. You had an encounter of FC Thun and dead Mennonites at the same time, apparently. Can you tell that?
Yeah, so when we had this 125th anniversary, we could also make an exhibition in the castle of Thun.
Fancy.
It's an old castle, and there was a prison back then where many of the Mennonites were imprisoned there. So in Switzerland, or there, you imprisoned the Mennonites, the oldest man, and the other one were shipped to America. So, yeah, it's like the connect, and we have a lot of American tourists who come to this place and want to explore their history. So it's kind of interesting.
Their Mennonite roots. Yeah, that's the area. Yeah, Gerber. There's a whole bunch of other Schwartz and Gruber and whatever. Yeah, very cool. That's a good connection. FC Thun party next to Mennonite prison. That would be the headline. Yeah. The stadium eventually turns out to be not quite good enough. Too, I mean, in the 90s, you have the next kind of structural challenge. What was that about?
Here again, they got promoted, and with the promotion, financial problems comes up. The promotion was in 1997,
Mm-hmm.
and in 1999 they always had to close the club. They just hadn't money. They were in debt.
Yeah, again, 2 years after promotion again. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, exactly. Again, they had to save the club. It was like a big structural change. So they built like a corporate with how it's called a corporation.
Yeah, for the professional play. I mean, this is a common solution, I assume, in Swiss football too, right? It's an AG, and you would have the same structure many other European countries as well, where the professional team is kind of outsourced into its own legal entity.
Yeah.
And you interrupt me if I'm saying this wrong, but the club would still hold a majority stake in that entity. In many cases, this is often what we talk with member-owned clubs who then hold a majority of that professional play thing too. Or you have an investor who then dominates the legal entity that organizes professional play. And the youth and all the other stuff stays with the actual club, which is structured as a nonprofit.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay. And in Thun, it was more like, whoa, the professional play this is so risky. This could drag the whole club down. We need to outsource it. Is that the maneuver?
Yeah, I'd say so. It was like a kind of fast way to have a solution to show them that, they can save. They have money. They can, organize some money to save the club. I think it was more like a big solution to give some stability. I'd say it like more this. I think everything happened like in 2 weeks, so it was very fast.
Kind of emergency surgery.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it was. They had to do something. They were just before the end, so.
And it worked.
It worked.
Now, since then, the professional, so FC Thun AG is the legal name, is separate from the club. How does that relationship work and look like? I mean, the history project you did was for the actual club. So I'm assuming you're viewing it with that perspective. Sometimes that relationship is fraught. Think of 1860 Munich, for example. Sometimes this goes very well and very smoothly. How is it in Thun?
Okay, so in Thun, the first team and this part is in the Aare, and like the youth academy, my part, so the whole anniversary, then the social part of the club is in this non-profit association. And I don't think that it's a hard relationship. I think they fight more again about money. And they have enough resources, but I think the relationship between it isn't that.
And the leaders of the AG, at least there in this early period, and it looks like still today, have a close relationship to the club. So these are not outside figures with money who come in to make profit off of the AG. That has not materialized in Thun.
No, I think that's, again, this familiar character from Thun. When you see the investors who saved the club in 1999, they're all firms who are regional, who are very close to the club. So I think that's maybe something that's a bit special about this club. And I think it isn't that interesting for big investors.
See, I don't know anymore. Now, the next few years, I would be surprised if there is not some bigger club that has its own multi-club model that's approaching Thun, and then we make you part of your system. You'd be kind of club number 2 and 3 or feeder club. And we see there's a good history of building talent here. There's not a lot of public pressure. It's not a big city. We'll invest here. I could see that happening. And then, do you know, I mean, would the FC Thun be open to outside investors, you think?
Well, I don't know.
Not if you would
Personally,
recommend
very
it.
fast, I would say no. But
Yeah.
at the end, most of them, it's about money. And I
Right.
don't know which situation can lead the Thun to say yes. I'm not sure.
Mm-hmm.
But I think personally, I would say no.
Yeah.
But we'll see. I think, yeah.
That's my sense too. And the club plays a very strong role in what's going on, the association club as well.
Yeah, I'd say so. So with the youth academy and things like that, it's a very important part also of this success that the Thun has right now.
See, that's actually a good point and smart to keep the youth academy with the association club and not outsource it, because that is young talents and you have a few players in the squad right now where there's transfer rumors and there's pretty big sums that are being tossed around there. The education and the pipeline of that talent stays with the association, not the for-profit.
Yeah, exactly. I think it's, on the one hand, they are important players for the team, and it's an investment in the future if you can sell them. Yeah, I think it. Yeah.
That rescue operation also succeeds. Early 90s.
Mm-hmm.
And probably lays the foundation for what is to come, because what's often not covered in the kind of hype train coverage now, oh my, small club out of nowhere, on its way to, there's a decent history of success that already led to the Champions League once. So take us through the 2000s a little bit.
Yeah, so we have this structural changes in 1999. Then we have this stabilization, and we have on the other side the youth academy that was built in 2001 was yeah, they had like a professionalization, and they got promoted in the National League A in 2002. So they had like, again, hype. They were hungry to get more, and they managed to get the second place in the championship in the season 2003 and 2004. And that means you are qualified to play the qualified runs in Champions League. And I think that was a big surprise.
Yeah.
So after Thun hadn't had like a lot of experience in the international football. They played the so-called Intertoto Cup in 2000.
Oh, I loved the Intertoto Cup. Sturm played in that as well. It was kind of a European summer league, and you could still qualify for a European spot come fall. But you played obscure teams. It was in the summer. It was hot. Yeah.
I didn't live it live, so I was too small, I think. But
yeah, you were unfortunate.
Yeah, but this was like, they played in the Intertoto Cup twice, and that's it. So then they had to play against names like Dynamo Kiev, which is a huge name for the small Thun. And when they won this first round of qualification, I think the whole newspaper called it a new miracle of Bern, because they had to play in Bern because
I was just going to ask, you weren't allowed to play in Thun, right?
Yeah, no, that was too small, this Lachen Stadium, so they had to play in Bern. And I can remember all the people with this red and white shirt here in Bern. That was kind of special to see. Mm-hmm. And then they had to play the second qualification round against Malmö FF. And they've won again twice. Yeah. I think it was twice. And they were qualified to the Champions League with names like Arsenal, Ajax Amsterdam, and Sparta Prague, which are huge.
There's great pictures.
Yeah.
Good publicity. You had a local company on the shirt back then as well, I think, in the Champions League. Frutiger was on there.
Yeah, exactly. And this was also one club who saved
one of the local businesses. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. And you see them, I kind of pay attention to that. You see them next to, Arsenal is out there with them. Big alliance.
Incredible.
Fun.
And they've played a good group phase, so they've won against Sparta and I won the other game against Sparta in a tie. Well, the other one they lost, but they lost unfortunate. So once with a penalty in the 89th minute and stuff like that. So it was just an amazing season for the FC Thun. It was incredible. They wrote history back then, the first time in Champions League, and they've won one game. So yeah, and yeah, they managed to get the third place in this phase, which meant they could play the 16th final in the Europa League.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. They've lost it against Hamburg, but the small FC Thun with the small club and not so many players who aren't used to play international, and then those huge games in front of 47,000 spectators, and I think was incredible. And I know that the whole Switzerland looked at it so that was a hype in the whole country, and that they received a letter from our government how big this thing is. So you see how important also such phases are.
How do you think FC Thun changed a little bit during that period? I mean, there's a lot of money coming in. There is more public interest. I assume that fan culture is growing. So at some point, you will have had some organized groups in the stands as well. And my guess is it's happening around that time. Is that true? That kind of growth around the game as well?
Yeah.
Or does the club pretty much stay the same? And whoa, we're in the Champions League, but...
I think, I think the club itself is very stay on the ground, keep calm, as they are today. So, but I think the FC Thun got more attention. I think that's a big difference. So they were from yesterday to today a name. So they were important, and I think before that, they weren't just so important for the other clubs, I would say. And internationally, I think no one's heard it before, this Intertoto Cup or Champions League. So I think that's more the point. And, well, as I said, they had to play in Bern because the stadium wasn't good enough to play Champions League. And they fought for a new stadium before that. And now with the Champions League, they had a good reason to get this new stadium.
Yeah. And did it.
And did it. It was a bit of a fight, but they did it, yeah.
Right, but that is where the city comes in. And the city.
Yeah, and in Switzerland, you can... Yeah, everything has to be decided collective, and there's always someone who doesn't want a new stadium or a new that. So it gets longer, but at the end, I think when it's enough important, like this stadium for the FC Thun, you get it.
Was the stadium universally welcomed, or do you think there were also folks that really missed the old ground, maybe wanted to see it renovated? I mean, when I look at the pictures of the new stadium, this is a modern, fairly geometrical, standard all-seater arena. Yeah. And the old stadium had a kind of a character to it. Does that move do something to the club?
Yeah, I think so. So I've heard a lot of people who said they missed the old stadium. So there is more charm in it. I think also the memories that are connected to the stadium are a bit... I think when you are a supporter who supports FC Thun for over decades, and then you have to move to this new stadium, yeah, I think it can be hard. And when you see what happened on the Lachen Stadium, against Argentina, against Maradona. They played against Uruguay. So I think there are also very special moments. And in the new stadium, you have to live, to build there these memories. And it takes so long. And yeah, I think I can imagine that for some people, they miss the old stadium.
Mm-hmm. It seems that FC Thun always moves stadium when there's something big happening. There's floods, or there's financial crisis, or there's Champions League.
Yeah, you have to imagine. So the first pitch they played is the Thuner Almend. And this was so basic. So like they had 4 holes to put the goalpost in it. And they had to share this pitch with the military. So Thun is a big military city. So a lot of the Swiss military is there.
I forgot to say that it's the biggest garrison city in Switzerland. Is that right?
Yeah, so, exactly.
Mm-hmm.
So they had to share this pitch with the military. The military had there some exercises with the bombs, with the guns. So they had to manage that they can, live together without any dangers. And once
the soldiers don't shoot the footballers.
Yeah, exactly.
Yes. Yeah, you said the name is Almend, which in English translates to the commons. So the town commons.
Mm-hmm. Yes. So it was basic. It was just a field with 4 postals in it, goal posts in it. But there was an accident when a military horse broke his leg. So the military decided, that's not, it can
Wait, did a footballer break the horse's leg? No.
No, the horse just stood in a hole. But they had to search for a new stadium. Then they got to the Grabengut, and they had to make this pitch on their own. So the players really worked there. And also the Grabengut just got more and more expanded with tribune, with shower rooms, with lockers. But also there it was very basic. And then the Lachen Stadium came, which was great back then. It was new made. It was for a lot of different sports. So I think that was, for that time, a very modern place, but not anymore when it came to Champions League and Europa League. And
Now, while we're on it, in the new stadium, as I said, geometrical all-seater, and as usual, behind one goal, you have the standing section, the block suit. Southern Block is the banner over there. What has grown there among the younger generation since that Champions League time? Where would you see does the FC Thun, the fan scene, fit in the bigger Swiss picture? You obviously have big names who often go viral online as well with choreographies. How is that looking like in Thun?
I think Thun has. Yeah, you said they had the Block Süd, it's called. They have their organized fans who support FC Thun at home, but also in the away games very much. Also with chorales and stuff like that. But I think in Thun it's also very nice that their supporters are very, very young, but also very old. So they have all kind of supporters who also often goes in away games and have like this more generational fans and supporters. And I think the FC Thun lives a bit with it. As you know, it fits exactly in the town. Everybody knows each other. We have the younger men who are in this organized fan clubs, but also all the older ones, the kids and everybody.
The Red White Boys seems to me the oldest banner. Is that the biggest group back there?
I'm not sure if the biggest, but we have, if I'm not mistaken, like 4 groups. Like on the oldest one, I think it's called Abikurve. Yeah, and then in the so-called block suit, there are, I think, different like groups in it, and among them, I think also the
there are a few organized ultra groups there. Yeah, the block suit is the umbrella.
Exactly.
Umbrella banner. Any rivalries there?
Yes, but I think that.
So by now, if you go to Bern, do they?
Yeah,
take you seriously now?
I think yes. So in Switzerland, it's when you have clubs who are in the same canton, like Bern and Zurich, they are very big rivals. So after the young boys against Thun, they are big rivals. Yeah, but yeah, I think it's normal, and I think that this tension also makes this soccer so.
No, absolutely, it should exist. That's why I'm asking for it. Where is the?
Yeah, it's
where are the rivalries here, and who is more motivated when FC Thun rolls into town? Very good. New stadium then. That transition still dearly missed by quite a few, and the new stadium is quickly followed by a string of scandals. Now, I'll let you guide us through that, but it's certainly something that I recall, both of these making headlines and international headlines back then as well. So what goes on after that Champions League success?
They had like 2 sex scandals and one match-fixing scandal, but yeah, well, they are like related to the FC Thun. I would different those things from few players who did something wrong from the club. I think that's very important to say. And well, the match-fixing scandal was a Europa-wide problem. So I think in Germany it started, and there are different clubs outside Switzerland. And I think, sadly, scandals are something in everyday life in football, in soccer.
Well, no, I'm not sure if your scandals are kind of everyday life. The match fixing thing,
not every day, but they are a lot. So, like, not especially like sex scandals or match fixing problems, but a lot of racism, some misconduct. So, I think if you are looking into the history of most of the clubs, have some darker themes, and we decided that we want to show this transparent. We don't want just to show like the nice sides of the club. And for us, it was like very important that we can show it. But I think it's, we have like to divide the club and those few players. The names aren't known in the public,
correct.
I think.
Yeah.
So.
And that's in accordance with how the Swiss legal system works. But I was going to compliment you because the section on the website, when you click through the milestones of the club, has the match fixing scandal and names it that way in the title. And then also it says 2007. Sex scandal, and then you can click on it and you get what is there with the number of people. So 9 former players involved then, and I think 2 were found guilty. And then below, and I found this particularly interesting, then you have a selection of events of what else happens in the world during this time. So this, for example, is the same year of the presentation of the first iPhone, and so you have this contextual little bubble around it that I really liked about your history project. And the transparency regarding this one is valuable too. I can see many other clubs where there is no way this would appear on the website in an official history. And here it is. Back then, the president said the worst week of the club since its founding. And the club was shaken. Consequences from that, there were quite a few, right? Was there some kind of new code?
Yeah, well, I know that they've published the name of them who are innocent. I think that's this way to handle this is kind of interesting and I think very important. But yeah, I think there's more awareness. I think they couldn't play anymore and they had to lose. They weren't in the club anymore. But
that's right, or found guilty. The club here says code of conduct
Yeah.
It's been worked out. I don't think many clubs have a sexual code of conduct in the mid 2000s. Is my hunch. So I mean that's struck me as unusual. And if you obviously you can look it up on the website, but it's around. It involves players and serious non-consensual encounters with the same woman there. Mm-hmm. And then the match fixing, you're right. This is a much bigger picture. There's multiple clubs in Switzerland are affected as well, not just FC Thun, and that's the one that starts in Germany. But a year later, FC Thun goes back up, and the new stadium opens, and Europa League qualifies. So one of these yo-yo things again.
I think it's just...
Is the club's public reputation harmed at the time? There's a lot of things going on. You're just getting over this Champions League high. You have these 2 scandals hitting the club, a new stadium. I imagine this must have been a super tumultuous time. And it's around the time when you started being interested in football.
Yeah, I think the fact that everything happened so fast, the one thing, then I just knew another calm that the focus was on the other thing, and the other thing, it was, I think that was kind of advantage for the afternoon, that everything happened so fast.
Yeah. Okay, so you're saying there's momentum.
Exactly. And I think those up and down stages typical for the history for the afternoon, and I think that won't change. I think that's just something that lives the club and
Europa League, you make it to the group stage. 2020, the club goes down again. So the stadium doesn't help. Now you got this nice stadium and you're playing in the second league. There's also another sex scandal listed as sex scandal number 2 on the website. Those 2000s, the pandemic, and then the club goes down that's a big crisis moment. That's when some of the figures that are currently influential come into the club. What kind of reckoning is this? It seems to me this is then more of a moment of okay, we need some fundamental changes and realignments in the club other than just get fresh money and get back up again.
Yeah, I think this was a time where everything changed, also with the pandemic and then the relegation. So I think the club has had to reorganize them, to find a way to define their goals and how they want to go into the future. And as you said, a lot of them came during this time and also leads the club today. So I think this gave back some stability. And then the promotion last year, I think it's a product of this building phase, who took a few years, but was, I think, enormously important for the club, and to find themselves stable enough to come back to the Super League, to the National League A.
Do you want to say something about Andres Gerber here, who is, this is now the professional part that we're talking about, but seems to be a crucial figure, right? As a player and then as a more or less accidental chairman of the HE. Yeah. Who is he?
So he is now the president of the FC Thun. But he was, I think that's the important part also, he was the captain when FC Thun played in the Champions League. So he was always related to the club, and now is such an important figure as he was back then. And we have other people like Mauro Lustrinelli, who played in the Champions League, who is now the coach, hopefully soon to be the master coach of the FC Thun. So, and then we have 2 other, so Nelson Ferreira and Alan Portman, who are now working for the club, who played in the Champions League. So this, I think, gives a big stability to the club, that the people there are very strong related to the club.
I heard, or I read from Gerber in one of the interviews where he said, basically, I took it because nobody else would. Like, everybody told me if I don't take it, the club's going to go down. Is that your impression too?
Yeah, I'd say so.
It doesn't seem like he was scheming for it. Like he was making
I think
moves.
it
He was kind
wasn't.
of pushed into this position.
Yeah, but I think this job just fits him perfectly. He knows the job.
Okay.
He knows everything. I think he made such a good job for the afternoon, and I think he hopefully is gonna get his reward on Saturday with the title.
Yeah, a former player who is not calling is not coach, which is often the case, but in the office, and apparently doing a great job. He's a local kid too, right? He grew up. He's from the area.
Yeah, he's from the region.
Yeah, that is always a nice figure to have.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And Mauro Lustrinelli, the coach.
Exactly.
Also past successes, and who knows, the players that are on the pitch now might be your next president 20 years from now, after the next financial crash or something. No, let's hope that's not.
Hopefully not, but we'll see.
So with that set up, Gerber, Lustrinelli, you kind of rescue the club again. You go up, and year one after promotion, now you're almost, well, not almost. There's still stuff to be played for. You're not champion yet. You still need a few points. So, but you're very close, and the front runner there, which means another round of Champions League next year. Yada yada yada. How's it feel? Surreal? Or have you learned from your history and say, well, in 5 years, everything's going to go to shit again anyways, so let's celebrate now? Does this feel like a more sustainable phase for the club?
I think this is hard to predict by the afternoon, but I think it's incredible to be part of this, to live this. I think I've looked into history very deep, so I know it goes up and down very fast, but I think just very important to just enjoy this incredible season. I think they're writing history if they're gonna achieve it this Saturday, but yeah, I think it's just nice to see and nice to be part of, and yeah, I think that's why I love soccer, because it's writing history like this
that you can then write about. What does it do to the club, the association club? You mentioned youth academies there. There is now again a women's team. Does the vibe does this spill over into the club as well? The success these days?
Yeah, I think on the one hand, it's certainly also investing for the future. So I'm not sure how the club is going to change this summer. So I think there will be some changes with the players. So I think to build on the youth academy, it's very important. And we had this year the Women Europe Cup in Switzerland. So this also is like, fits in this time, I think. And it's just like the logical step that the women's sections go back to the afternoon. I think it can be a big chance also with hopefully more money, that we can also build this part more and more. And we'll see what's going to happen in the future.
Will you be allowed to play in your own stadium qualification this time?
Yeah. Yes.
Would you be allowed to play the Champions League group phase in Thun as well?
I think so, yeah. Well, when it was built, it's 15 years ago, but then it would be allowed. I think today, I hope also. So it's very modern, so I hope, yeah.
Yeah. No, that's a few weeks ago.
Would be great,
we talked about Bodø Glimt here, and I was surprised how that stadium could pass muster. I hope yours does too.
Yeah.
Do you think the risk is high that with the Champions League millions, things will go haywire again, or do you see those being invested this time more long term? And
I think it's more long term. Oh, at least I hope so. But I think there was a professionalization and also other people who can give some tips. And I think that's something important for the club. And they already lived this Champions League phase once. So they had made their experience. So maybe I think that's going to be different this time.
And lessons learned.
Yeah.
Ooh. That's a lot more tumultuous story than what you hear in the front lines. What you normally hear is all of a sudden FC Thun got promoted and voila, there's a small town club competing for championship. There's clearly a lot more behind the story. And thank you for sharing that with us. If we were to talk again in, let's say, 5 years, what would it take for those 5 years to have been good years for FC Thun?
Well, for me personally, it would be great if they're still playing in the Super League, but I think that shouldn't be a problem. Also that they keep this identity, this very small club who is nearby the people. And for me, these things are important and are the FC Thun. And I hope that's going to be in 5 years still. And I think so.
And regarding the family feel, I can say that when I asked around, hey, who might know historical stuff, who did this on the website, I got a response back from the very top level, the president emailed back. That was the first thing that I heard back from the club was the president himself typing out an email. So yes, family seems like all hands on deck around the club. Very good. I hope you get to go to Basel on the weekend.
Yeah, hope to.
And hope you get to celebrate there.
Yes.
What's the future look like for you? Is football history in the mix? Do you plan to do a bit more?
Yeah, well, it would be great, but I think so it's hard. I'm gonna be at the FC Thun and research and write the history down, but I think that's it, and it's more like a hobby for me. So we'll see. It's how it's what's gonna get in the future, but at the moment, yeah.
At the moment, it's not your main research focus.
No.
Yeah.
No.
Very well. Then greetings to Switzerland. We'll follow what happens with FC Thun. And I'm sure already, if you're an English-speaking football fan, it's hard to avoid that story coming out of Switzerland. And I've seen so much about it now that I thought we should get some of the background here. Who is this club? Thank you, Medea, for telling us and for introducing us.
Yeah, thank you.
Be well.
Yeah, you too, and thank you for the podcast.
You're welcome. Thank you for coming on.
Saturday, May 2nd, FC Thun is in Basel. That's the next chance for them to seal this sensational title. And you'll know who they are after having listened to this. May 11th, Monday, the Eurovision Song Contest special drops. 4 people. I'll tell you just one of them. One of them is my sister, who is a professional musician and a big song contest fan. So you'll hear from her and me and 2 more, and it will be a lot of fun. We've already recorded it. I'll drop in time for the song contest, and by then, I'll hope that FC Thun has made it and become the Swiss champion. Please leave a 5-star rating if you can. A positive feedback. Pass it on, recommend the podcast to people you like and who you know will appreciate what I do here, and to people who you don't like. Pass it on to them as well if you don't like it.